Hello and welcome to another video where today I'm going to be starting a new series of sorting and searching algorithms done in Python. Today our first one is bubble sort. Bubble sort's probably one of the first algorithms you'll learn. It's fairly easy to implement in Python and it's quite easy to start with to get your head around the whole sorting and searching systems. So before we start coding it, let's try and explain it. We have a collection of cards. So what the bubble sort will do is it will do a series of passes where it will go through all of the cards, starting with the first card. So it will get the first card, and it will compare it to the second card. Now 12 is bigger than 3, so what will happen is they'll swap. Then 12 will be compared to 2, and 12 is bigger than 2, so it will go past and it will swap. And it will keep doing this until it gets to a card where it is no longer bigger. So 12 is not bigger than 123. So what it'll do is it will stay in place, and then 123 will be compared to the next card. So then 5 will move, and 123. So that's the first pass. But as you can see, it's not finished. They're still not in order. So what will happen is the second pass will happen. So 3 and 2 will swap, and then 3 and 1 will swap, and then 3 and 12 won't swap, because, well, 12 is bigger than 3, but 5 and 12 will swap. So then that's our second pass. And then you do your next pass, and so on. And through all of these passes, you'll eventually get it, so it's in the right order. Don't know why I swapped those two cards, that was the right way around. And like that, it's in the right order. So that's roughly how bubble sort works. And that's kind of clear to visualize it, but I always find putting stuff in code makes life easier. So let's open up our code editor of choice. I'm using Visual Studio Code. You can use your normal Python editor, PyCharm, whatever you want, even just a text editor. I just like using Visual Studio Code. So to get started, we're going to need ourselves a small array. Is this recording? Oh good. So let's start it. We're going to need ourselves a small array. So let's just make ourselves an array of stuff to sort. So let's call this to_sort. There we go. And in this array, we'll just put in a load of items, variables. There we go. I'm just going to keep randomly pressing my keys until I have a load of 4 or 5 digit numbers. That should be enough. Like, we will be able to see if it works from that list. And later on I will show you how to generate a 1000 digit array, just for the point of it really. So now we're going to make ourselves our function. So we're going to call this def bubble search. And I'm going to do a section of coding, and then I will explain the section of coding. And that's like normal. So we're going to create our function. So def means create, or create function. Bubble sort is our function, and we're going to pass it into our function array. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to make a new variable called swapped. Now you can do this without this variable, but it does make stuff a bit slower. It makes it a bit slower, and well, without it, so we might as well make it as efficient as possible. So now we're going to do our while loop, and so I've done while swapped. While swap is the same as saying while swapped is equal to true, but we can save on the characters, so we'll just do while swapped. And now we're going to, create a new variable called swapped. Make a new variable and redefine this variable to be false. So what this is going to happen is every time we're going to keep going through our array. And if things have been swapped, we're going to have to go through it again. However, if nothing gets swapped, it means it's sorted, and it's pointless going through it. So that's why we've got these variables. And now we're going to make a for loop. So we're going to do item in, and then we're going to do range brackets len array, and then we're going to -1 from this. And the reason we're minusing 1 is that arrays start counting at 0. So if we look at this array at the top, this first item is, well, to us it would be item number 1, but to the Python it is item number 0. However, if you use the len or length object in Python, it will say it will tell you how many objects it has in it, the array, but it won't give them in the order we want. So it will always say there's one more than the objects it's counting. That will kind of make sense further on when we start trying to run the code, so I will show you what I mean. So now what we're going to do is, if our array brackets index must be square brackets for item, and then we want to see if this is bigger than our next item. So what we can do is we can just use basically item plus 1, because we're looping through an array or the length of the array, they're numbers, so we can have item is a number and we can just add 1 to it to find the next item across. And if it is bigger, we want to swap the values of those items. The way we're going to do this is we're going to do array item and array brackets item plus 1 is equal to, because something you can do in Python is you can actually redefine multiple variables at once, and this will just make our life slightly easier. Plus 1, and then we're going to do array brackets index item. There we go. It's been a while since I made a video, if you can't tell. And we're also going to now say that we have swapped our items. So let's try explain this now. Before we do that, we will have to at the end make sure we return our array. There we go. So now let's try and go through this. First line, we have made our function. Then we're going to create and initialize a variable called swapped, and we're initializing this variable for checks, and this will save us time, which for an array of a few items it won't matter, but if we start getting arrays of thousands of items, let's think about the downloads of your computer. You try to sort all of that, it would work, but it'd be slower, and people don't like slow. People want things to be almost instant. So now we've got our while loop. So now, while things are still being swapped, we want to keep doing our checks and our swapping. So at the start of each loop, we're going to say nothing's been swapped yet. We're then going to go through, so we're going to get our item to go through the rest of the array, and if our item is bigger than our next item, we will swap them, and we will say that we've done a swap. And now this line here, it looks a bit complicated, but it's just our way of simplifying 2 lines at once. So we're saying that item and item plus 1 should be equal to item plus 1 and item. So if we go back to our cards, we're checking that these 2 cards, let's move all of these to the side, we're saying look at these 2 cards, this card and this card. So card 1 is now going to be equal to card 2, and card 2 is now going to be equal to card 1, so they get swapped over. Admittedly, it shouldn't do that because 1's smaller than 2. And then when we've done our swap, we're going to say that we swapped something, so it goes through our loop again. And then we are going to return this array. So if we do print bubble sort, there we go, bubble sort, and we'll give it the input of toSort. Now we're going to run this. You can press Ctrl F5 in most code editors to run your code. You will see we've got the same array, but it goes up in the right order and has been sorted, unlike this array. So that is how to do a bubble sort. Doing it with 5 or 6 items is a bit boring. So why don't we generate our array? Because we can generate an array really easily, so let's do that. And then if we do future sorting systems, we would want larger arrays to make it easier to compare speeds. So let's make a new Python file called genArray.py. What we're going to do is we're going to import random. And we're going to make a new array called num equal, there we go, got to type random. There we go. And now let's say we want an array of 1,000 items. We can do for I in range and then 1,000. Now this is surprisingly easy. We can just make a new variable called add, and let's say this is random.int. It's random.randint. Open up our brackets, and we're going to do this between 100 and 999, just so it's always a 3-digit. And we're going to then do num.append add. And then we're going to just, at the end, we will print num. There we go. So if we give that a quick run, you can see we've now suddenly got a much larger array, got a lot more data, and if we wanted to, we could use that array instead in our bubble sort. And it works the same way, and we just got more data. I kind of like using larger arrays because it really gives you a sense of the speed of the program. So that is how to do bubble sort in Python. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like, maybe consider subscribing. We have a Discord server if you need support or more things explained, and I will hopefully do another sorting system next. How about probably insertion sort? So make sure you subscribe so you can find out about that. Thank you for watching. See you.